welcome to A Good Walk Spoiled, Adventures in Golf, hosted by Scott Poniewaz, also known as @PonyGolf. Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode hosted by myself, Scott Poniewaz, also known as @Pony_golf on the old social medias. Came up with a name, A Good Walk Spoiled, as we all have heard the quote. Maybe it's Mark Twain, maybe it's somebody else, we don't know. But welcome to our inaugural and pilot episode of A Good Walk Spoiled. My hope is that it will be a generally entertaining podcast covering a variety of golf, travel, life topics, as well as splashes of history, golf architecture, interviews with interesting people, and more. So a little bit of a variety show, you might say. So I hope that there will be a little bit for everyone, but we'll dive in today and hopefully cover a couple areas of interest with Augusta and the Masters just around the corner, hence the hat. We'll sort of kick off today's episode with that as our sort of featured topic, as well as some of you that have been following me on social media for a little while. You may remember this random post from a couple of years back. I want to say it was like even, pre-COVID or something. Chips, bites, and flights. I made a joke about it in one of my captions, and I'm going to run with it. And so that'll be a sort of here and there feature covering different travel, food, and of course, golf. So hence the little play on words there with chips. Yeah. So the chips, bites, and flights segment for a little bit of golf, food, and travel. So that'll be an area. Also plan on having, some interviews and things like that. And actually, that chips, flights, and bites, or chips, bites, and flights. I'm going to have to get it right here. I actually took that from several of you. I'd run a poll several weeks ago as I was sort of finalizing the production of this with Millions, who's helping me out with getting this out the door. Been a work in progress for or at least a wanting to be a work in progress for a couple of years, but finally coming to fruition here. But I know several of you had sent feedback that it would be great. I've had the opportunity to travel to a lot of places as a amateur golf tour player, as well as just general golf travel. And so several of you had asked, for sort of a segment that covers a little bit more on like the travel and other sort of behind the scenes kind of stuff. So we'll hopefully make that a regular feature here, along with some other segments. With that, I will just dive right in, and let's get jumping into our feature topic today, which is Augusta National. Yeah, we've obviously got it just around the corner with the Masters Week kicking off I guess it's the 8th of April, will be the Monday that starts off just after my birthday, which is always kind of a nice time of the year. Sort of the official start to golf season, I feel like, for many of us, where the snow is finally melting off. But so, if you find yourself lucky enough to be going to the Masters, got a couple tips. It has been a few years for myself, but I do know from a lot of people that go year after year, a lot of this sort of stays the same with the classic experiences that go along with the Masters and Augusta as a patron, if you're lucky enough to be able to attend. The first and only time that I've ever been was actually in 2012. I was able to attend a practice round on a Tuesday, so a little earlier in the week, a little quieter, which actually, for some of you that are like, oh, practice round, it can't be that fun or that exciting, it actually is a phenomenal opportunity, especially those earlier days in the week. Tuesday is sort of when everybody is finally there. Monday, a lot of them are still maybe traveling or not quite out and about playing. And so with the Masters, if you are able to get a practice round ticket, it is actually more exciting. Earlier in the week, I found on Tuesday, all the players and the bigger names started to come out and at least play, 9 holes or a few more. They were out and about on the range, so they were a little bit more relaxed this early in the week as well, which is kind of nice. So they were a little more lighthearted. Certain players are always going to be very serious, but I found that earlier in the week on a Tuesday, it was great because people were walking along the ropes and sort of having conversations with fans that were following along and cracking jokes, and sort of got to see a little bit more laid back personality. And of course, there's some of the famous 16th hole skipping of the par three. I unfortunately didn't get to see any hole in ones, but I think there had been one earlier in the day, and I want to say it was actually Kevin Kisner back then. I'd have to double check who that was, but either way, if you're lucky enough to find yourself at the Masters, here are a few tips that I wanted to just share to help you get the most out of your day. So number one, which is the big one that's sort of posted all around, is the no phones allowed. Yeah, don't even try to sneak it. It's not worth it. It's the quickest way to ruin your day. So just leave it locked in your car, your glove box, or back at the hotel or whatever. Because, if you try to sneak off into the woods or something to take that text message or whatever, definitely going to ruin your day. So don't even try it. Other thing that someone shared with me ahead of the first visit was try to walk the course from start to finish. So true. Not only that, it's tempting to maybe find a favorite hole, sitting at in corner and watching, people tee off on 12 for a while and just, watching people cycle through. That can be great. Or maybe wanting to follow a specific player and try to catch them. There are opportunities to obviously follow certain people for a couple holes as you're doing this, but I would start from the first hole and just walk the whole course, start to finish. You don't know when you're going to come back, unless maybe you do find yourself with an actual badge, then lucky you. But if you're uncertain if you're ever going to make it back, being able to walk every hole, take it in from a few different vantage points. That way, when you're back home watching on TV, those final Sunday players might find themselves in some precarious situations on certain holes, and this gives you the opportunity to be like, oh, I know exactly where that is. I know exactly what that tree is. And the other thing is just keep your eyes open as you're sort of walking around and wandering. Some of the magic of Augusta is a lot of the volunteers that assist with the week. I mean, if somebody drops a gum wrapper or kicks a few pine needles out of place, people are behind making sure that everything remains pristine and is that top-notch experience that you hear about. So definitely keep your eyes out as you are walking. This one goes without saying, but of course you gotta get the pimento cheese sandwich. And I'm not gonna, repeat this one, but as we all know, the prices at the Masters remain probably one of the best food and drink deals in sports anywhere. Another thing too is save those plastic cups, and if you're not gonna, buy any drinks, then just try to find some on your way out, or pick up a couple extras so that you have, that set of 4 or 6 to take home with you. Those commemorative cups, nothing better than, sitting, sipping your favorite drink on the deck in the summer and just reminiscing about that experience. Just one of those cool little things, as a sort of free souvenir, I guess you could say. The other thing too is, if you're there for the practice rounds, especially, don't be afraid to talk to some of your neighbors. For a few holes, actually, we're walking along with Ben Crenshaw as he was playing, and just so happened that one of his close friends was also alongside us, and randomly I'm in the middle of the hole, side of the fairway, and we're sitting there and we start talking and chatting with each other, and he starts telling us a few stories of some of the relationships and experiences during Masters weeks, or back at the clubhouse in Austin, Texas, that they've shared, and some pretty special moments that I was able to hear about, that you never know who you're standing next to. And then the sort of last but not least tip, increase that credit card limit, because those pimento cheese sandwiches are inexpensive and very fair pricing. I think they were $1.50. I think they still are $1.50. But once you make your way into that merchandise tent, all bets are off. So between the FOMO and the YOLO, that bill, once you get to the cash register, of the golf shirts, the belts, the other ball markers, and gifts for others, you're going to end up wanting a little bit of everything. Definitely increase that credit card limit and be ready to spend a few bucks at the merchandise area. So for those of you that are going, I'm beyond jealous of you. So I hope that you enjoy your experience, and feel free to share any tips back with me, and maybe we'll include them in a future episode for others. And for the next segment, for those of you that will not be in the good graces of being able to attend and have a patron's badge, we're going to jump into a few little history bits that and facts that you may or may not have already known. So we'll make you the popular one at your watch party when you can drop these little tidbits of knowledge. Alrighty, and our next segment, some of the Augusta and the Masters facts and little historical tidbits, which hopefully you'll enjoy as much as I enjoyed pulling these together. So kick off a few of those did you knows. So did you know only 2 pro golfers are current members at Augusta National? May have known this or may not have, but Jack Nicklaus and former amateur stand-up John Harris, who just actually recently retired from the PGA Tour Champions Senior Tour, are the only pro golfers who are Augusta National Golf Club members. The only other one was actually Arnold Palmer, who unfortunately passed away in 2016, but he was a club member as well when he was still with us. So with that, the next, did you know only one president has ever been a member at Augusta National Golf Club? And that would be avid golfer Dwight, or Ike, Eisenhower. So he was the only U.S. president to have been a club member. And as you may also realize, Ike's Pond is the 3-acre pond near the 9th hole on the par 3 course. So when you watch the par 3 tournament on Wednesday, you now know that Ike was the only U.S. president that also was a member at Augusta National Golf Club. This one I had to throw in there just because I didn't realize that so many people didn't know this. Now, over the last couple of weeks, I think everybody maybe does know because of social media and the big uproar and controversy and all the commenting from the keyboard warriors about this particular one, which is that the previous year's winner of the Masters pays for the champions dinner that kicks off the week on Tuesday evening of the Masters week. So when John Rahm's menu was announced, I guess it was about, a couple weeks ago here, a lot of people were up in arms that he actually pays for this champions dinner, which hosts all of the prior Masters champions. And so, I just found it fascinating that people didn't realize this until now. And they, talk about, oh, well, Augusta National, they have all this money, they make so much money from the production and all the sponsors and all this other stuff. But it has been a long-standing tradition that the previous year's winner does actually choose the menu with the chefs at Augusta National, but then they also do actually foot the bill for the food, wine, drinks, all of that. So it's a long-standing tradition. I think that they can afford, their share of that as well. And it's a badge of honor to be able to host that dinner. So there you have it. The next, did you know? There are 3 particular bridges at Augusta National that are dedicated to specific players. Those 3 are the Sarazen Bridge at hole number 15, which is in honor of Gene Sarazen's double eagle during the 1935 Masters. There is the famous Hogan Bridge that crosses over to the number 12 green in honor of Ben Hogan's record score at the time of a 274, which was back in 1953. And then there is the Nelson Bridge, which is at the number 13th tee, which honors Byron Nelson's performance on holes number 12 and 13 when he went on to win the Masters in 1937, which leads to the next one. The green jacket tradition originally started in 1937 when Byron Nelson actually won that particular Masters. And the tradition of members wearing green jackets began in 1937 when the jackets were purchased from New York's Brooks Uniform Company. And the idea was that the Masters patrons easily could see members who would have accurate information if they had any questions while in attendance at the Masters. So the jackets have been stitched at Hamilton Tailoring, which is outside of Cincinnati. And according to numerous reports, it takes roughly a month to produce each of these 3-button single-breasted blazers. So there you have it. And obviously they have a number of different size fits for the jacket ceremony, but they actually do give each Masters winner their own custom jacket once it's completed. So another fun factoid, the area that Augusta National now sits on was actually used for raising animals during World War II, if you can believe that. The tournament wasn't played due to the war during 1943, 1944, and 1945. And so to help with the war effort, they allowed turkey and cattle to be raised on the Augusta National grounds. So another sort of wild background story to the Augusta National property. The club was originally conceived by Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts, and they basically wanted to establish a national membership for the club. And the land had once been Fruitland Nurseries. So they took a $70,000 option on a 365-acre property called Fruitland Nurseries. And Bobby Jones and Alistair McKenzie ended up designing the course, which also has a little bit of a backstory, which will also turn into we'll sort of tie into our travel segment for this episode. So they began the construction in 1931, and then it opened in 1932 with limited play. And then the formal opening was actually January 1933. So the little background of this, which is pretty fascinating, is the whole birth of Augusta National. Many actually attribute to a woman named Marion Hollins, and she actually introduced the two of them during a opening day sort of feature celebration foursome that was played for the opening day of Pasatiempo Golf Club in just outside of Santa Cruz, California in 1929. And that is supposedly when she essentially brokered the introduction of Bobby Jones and uh, Dr. Alistair McKenzie. Dr. McKenzie also designed Pasatiempo, and then later went on to design Augusta National. And this is supposedly the birth of that sort of relationship, was that opening day at Pasatiempo in 1929. So pretty fascinating. Another sort of did you know about the famous Rays Creek. Those of you that watch the Masters, Rays Creek is a very familiar creek that runs in front of the number 12 green, and also catches many short shots into the green on number 13. And it also passes behind the number 11 green, which occasionally will catch the long shot as well. The Rays Creek was actually used as protection from attacks. And so Ray's house kept residents safe during Native American attacks back in the day, and it was the furthest fortress up the Savannah River from Fort Augusta. And so Rays Creek actually used to sort of act as a boundary or protection during the early days, hence the name Rays Creek, named after John Ray. So that concludes sort of the Augusta segment for today. But we are going to jump into chips, bites, and flights in just a moment after this quick break from one of our sponsors. Hey, and today, thanks to Galway Bay, I am reviewing their new Renville rain jacket, which is super high quality, super high performance. They've got this great low profile neck, seam sealed for waterproof and extra windproof. The other thing too is it's got this great performance stretch fabric. They've got even all these little nice features like the waist cinch, also this great wrist enclosure. Keep it tight around your golf hands. The other thing too is great zippers, waterproof pockets, including a nice little scorecard pocket here that's waterproof as well. Nice little added touch. The other thing too is it's a nice light, soft, stretchy fabric, so easy to wear. I've been able to test it around Montana this spring. While the golf courses might not be open, I've had it out in a little bit of snow, sleet, rain, and been able to wear test it, and I can definitely attest the waterproofness of it. Also nice, sleek style. So, with the golf swing, most importantly, it's not going to inhibit that swing. So, have had a great chance to test it out. Highly recommend it if you want to get your own rain gear, either this jacket or others from Galway Bay. Be sure to use my link in my bio, or you can just use Pony Golf 15, that's PonyGolf15, and save 15% on your purchases over at GalwayBayGolf.com. And here we are for the first edition of Chips, Bites, and Flights. This is the chips, obviously golf, bites, food, and flights segment. So Many of you that follow me on Instagram have seen a post about Sushi by Boo a couple years ago where I joked I would start a travel show called Chips, Bites, and Flights. Well, here we are, and the day has finally come. Though it isn't the title of the full show, which as we can see here, it is A Good Walk Spoiled. But I thought it would be a fun segment to keep this title. So without further ado, it will be a feature highlighting golf courses, destinations, with a few tips and ideas for getting there, staying, enjoying the food along the way. And as a foodie and a golfer, I can't help but highlight both. So, um, ideally, I'm going to have a couple like little insider tips that I can share just about some of the food and other options and where to stay and all that kind of stuff. So, which I somewhat alluded to, which some of you may already have picked up on what today's destination is going to be. It actually is not Augusta and it's not Aiken, South Carolina. It does have ties to Augusta National, however, and I did have a mention of it earlier, and that is Pasatiempo. So I had the opportunity to go for my first time a couple years ago, family trip to Pebble Beach, and my brother and I sort of snuck away to Pasatiempo for a round before heading to Pebble Beach and Spyglass, which maybe that's an idea for a future episode. I don't know. Tell me in the comments where you'd like to hear for the next one. But while you likely will never get the invite to play Augusta National, we're always open to invites here at Pony Golf and the Good Walk Spoiled podcast. But while you'll never get that invite to play Augusta, most likely, you do actually stand a chance to play this other course, which is Pasatiempo, and played a historical role in the development of Augusta National Golf Club. And it was designed by none other than the famous Dr. Alistair Mackenzie, who even had his home along the sixth fairway. So, as I mentioned before, Bobby Jones and Dr. Alistair Mackenzie were essentially introduced to one another by Marion Hollins, who is the woman who is behind Pasatiempo. And so today it is not only a beautiful, beautiful course, pristine. I mean, you can see out to the ocean from the clubhouse. But today it hosts one of the longest running college golf tournaments known as the Western, or the Western Intercollegiate Golf Tournament. And there are a few names that you probably recognize that played in that over the years. Jordan Spieth, Tiger Woods, Scotty Scheffler, Dave Stockton, Tom Watson, all future pro golfers that actually walked the fairways during the Western while they were playing college golf. The club has also had some pretty significant restorations over the years. A name that is likely very familiar to many of you, Tom Doak. He had a restoration that wrapped up around 2007. Most recently, architect Jim Urbina completed a green and bunker renovation on the front nine. And actually, in the next month or so, they are going to close the back nine to begin their renovation on the greens and bunkers for the back nine. And that should be wrapped up. According to the website, it looks like November, maybe December of 2024. So tail end of this year. As a quick drive from San Francisco, and also very convenient for a short drive from Monterey Bay Peninsula for those that might be playing Pebble Beach, or if you're lucky enough to get that invite to Cypress Point, you might be able to add on an extra day and an extra round at Pasatiempo. And honestly, just given the history, and also the fact that it's one of the few public courses for actual Dr. Alistair McKenzie course, it's sort of a must play for any avid golfer. While it does have a private membership that's associated with it, they do also sort of maintain the semi private access to it, which is just honestly something I feel more and more courses should open up their doors to, especially with them being some of the more historical courses in the world or in the country. I do think that there's sort of that Ireland and UK type of open policy that I think America does need to learn a little bit about. Especially for these courses with such significant historical backgrounds to them. So that's one of the great things. You can actually just go on their website and book tee times. Small deposit per person. I think it's around $35 right now. So I think it's $70 for the deposit, and then depending on the season, I think the daily tee time, not cheap, but also compared to some of the other courses in the area, like say TPC Harding Park or some of the others closer to San Francisco. I think the greens fees usually fall right around 380 to 400, or sort of right in that area, and they usually hang on to a handful of public tee times every day that you can actually book, which is fantastic. So um, that being said, definitely worth adding a day to play Pasatiempo. I actually have played there, I guess it was 2 falls ago in October, and I'm actually going back the week of the Masters, fittingly. I will get to play it again as I'm heading out to San Francisco for the Golfers Journal Olympic Club 2-man invite tournament. So super excited about the Olympic Club. That will be my first, but I'm also very, very excited to get back to Pasatiempo and play it post at least the front 9 renovations. So very, very excited to visit Pasatiempo. So with the food side of things and the stay side of things, well, you'll be able to obviously enjoy the Howland's House and the tap room, or Mackenzie Bar and Grill for pre and post round food and drinks. Nearby Santa Cruz has a great option, which is some fantastic tacos. I actually lived in Texas for a little bit, which some of you might know. I also lived out on the East Coast for a little bit. But Taqueria Los Pericos, which I don't speak Spanish, so my apologies for the pronunciation. Taqueria Los Pericos. But they are some fantastic tacos and Mexican food that definitely should not be missed. Very casual, maybe like 15-ish minutes from Pasatiempo itself in Santa Cruz. Then you can also, head to the beach, get your sand between the toes experience there after some tacos and maybe a cerveza or two. Pre or post round, great stop, super casual, super low key, and just minutes away. Highly recommend that as a stop. And moving on from the food, if you're not staying in either San Francisco or Pebble Beach, need a place to stay locally, none other than the inn at Pasatiempo. Super no frills, recently renovated, sort of motel type of accommodations, comfortable. They host a bunch of weddings and stuff, and it literally backs up to the golf course. So you can, I think if you sort of go out back behind the pool in the wedding venue, you can, do the peek through the bushes and see the course. Very affordable. It's maybe a minute or two around the corner into the gate, up to the course. Nothing fancy at their on-site restaurant, but some standard American fare. Seems pretty popular amongst the locals that live nearby. And, if you're looking for a little soak after your round or in the morning, we've got an outdoor heated pool. And also kind of a nice little coffee, breakfast, pastry, grab and go type of setup. So, in at Pasatiempo, very easy, very close, very convenient if you're not, San Francisco or somewhere in the Monterey Bay area / Pebble Beach. And with that, wrapping up our inaugural episode of this podcast, A Good Walk Spoiled. Thank you so much for listening. And, it's a brand new podcast. Thank you to the support of Millions as well as Galway Bay. Don't forget to use that code for Galway Bay. Also, partner Mully Golf. So subscription boxes, highly recommend checking them out over at mullygolf.com/pony_golf. You can also use that same pony_golf promo code to save on your box, 30% off. Love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Feel free to drop those below, or if you follow me on the gram, feel free to shoot me a DM. Love to hear feedback. Love to hear how we can make this better, and also, give you all what you're looking for. Thank you for tuning in. A Good Walk Spoiled, a golf podcast by Scott Poniewaz and at Pony Golf. Follow me on Instagram at Pony, PONY _GOLF. Thank you, and hope to see you on the course soon.